This is Penny Halverson again. I'm at Guff Stuff here, and we're going to review a few more games today. I'm going to look over some of the party games this time. Played these many times over, and we always have a good time when you get a good group together. These are good games to have. The first one I'm talking about is called Imagine If. And this one is to do with how well do you know the people you're playing the game with. You choose, there's 8 spots, it's for 3 to 8 players. And what you do is you choose, everybody writes their name down that's playing the game. You know, you got up to 8 spots to write their name down. And then when you play, you have a moving piece where you move along as you go. But to start with, whoever is first starts, and they do the shaking of the dice, and the dice tells you what color card you're going to use. Now, during the time you're playing, each player has cards that are numbered 1 through 8, and in their color, and that's your voting cards. So when whatever number you're at, say my name would be Penny and it would be on number 1, and then some of the people we're playing with would all be like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, 7 and 8. And if you don't have enough on there that's there, you can use people that you all know, like relatives or friends, or you could even go as far, and we have done this with superheroes that we watch on movies and things like that. We've used Thor and Iron Man and those kinds of things, so that's kind of fun too. But anyway, you're voting on what these cards ask you, and then everybody casts their vote and on the turn, and then whoever is the majority votes goes ahead. Okay, I got a 1 on the first say, so I'm going to say, imagine if, and the person's number 1. So I would say, imagine if Penny and I were dogs. Okay, I can't use my name. I'll say my son. Okay, Scott and I were dogs. Who would be the alpha dog? And then you vote. Everybody there votes. Would it be Penny or would it be my son Scott? Which one? And then whoever got the most votes was the winner. And then you move that many spaces, or everybody gets to move 1 space up. And that's how you play until somebody wins. And then you have different kinds, like this one's between the 2 people. And then if I happen to get a gray one, this is to do with every player. Imagine if we were the scientists, which player would build a time machine? So everybody from 1 to 8, which one would be more likely to build a time machine? And so then you'd vote again, and whoever gets the most votes, as those people with that number, moves their spaces. And the red one gives you choices. Imagine if, so wherever this thing, every time you take a turn, you move this little question mark up. So the question would be this time about Scott, because I'm number 1, so he'd be number 2. Imagine if Scott were a fictional crime fighter. Who would she be? And then you get a choice: Dirty Harry, Sheriff Andy Taylor, Austin Powers, Columbo, James Bond, or Inspector Gadget. So which one would he be? So then we vote on that, and then again, like I said, whatever number gets the most votes is what goes, and then everybody who voted with that number gets to move ahead until somebody gets to the finish. And it's a fun game. You get some silly answers, you get some fun. I mean, it's just getting, it's just fun. People laugh, get a lot of laugh, because some of the questions are really goofy. I mean, imagine if you were a superhero, which one would you have? Which power would you have? That's one of them. So that one is one that's we always have a good time with, lots of laughing. Always fun. Second one I want to talk about is called Would You Rather. Now this one can be really goofy, because these are some really strange questions they ask you. And then you also vote on this one too. So whoever's turn it is holding this little deal. And whoever's playing with you gets to guess what you're going to say. And on here we're going to read, I would read one of the questions. Say it's my turn, and I'd say, okay, here's the question. I'm on a, okay, so when you move, I see what. When you're playing, you get your, whatever color square you're landing on is the color of question you ask. And say it's a purple one. And these are some really weird categories. Curses are the blue. Unpleasant are the purple. Potluck are the green. Fantasy is the yellow. And powers are the red. So these, I mean, just from some of the categories, you can tell some of these questions are going to be kind of weird. Okay, so you start out at the start line, and you start out with a red question, which is the powers. So it's my turn. I would say, would you rather be able to summon a Boy Scout troop or a boy band? And you try to guess what your opponents are going to say. You can choose A. I think they'll choose A. I know they'll choose A. I think they'll choose B. Or I know they'll choose B. And you think, well, I know that all of them are going to rather have a boy band than Boy Scouts. So you'd put, I know they'll choose B. So then everybody talks about it and they decide on which one they think they'd rather. And majority rules again. If you got 10 players, you'd have 6 would have to agree, or however many you got there. And majority rules, and if they chose B, then whoever's turn it was would get to move 3 spaces. But if you're wrong, you have to go back. So this one you can go back on. If you guess wrong what they say, you go backwards. And then if you get another question, okay, say you move on and you've got purple question. These are unpleasant. Would you rather regurgitate a hairball like a cat or gargle for 10 minutes with the hot dog water from a street vendor? Now, which one would you rather do? I mean, really. I mean, some of these questions are like, whoa, one, it's unpleasant. That's what this category is unpleasant. And then again, everybody votes what they think. And the person whose turn it is votes on what they think the majority of the people are going to say. And then when they get that, then they either move or don't, or whatever way it goes. And then you go to the finish. So, okay, let's just go through the other questions. The green one is potluck. Would you rather for a week have Swiss cheese linens or wall-to-wall raw ground beef carpet? Now, there's a good one. I don't know that I'd want Swiss cheese hanging on my windows, or I don't know that I'd want raw ground beef under my feet. It's kind of an ugly choices. And then fantasy. Would you rather have your face on a $1 bill or your butt on the $10 bill? Well, probably most people would want their face on it rather than their butt, because I don't know about you, but I don't want my butt on something. And then the last one is the powers, or the blue one. We didn't do blue. Would you rather have skin 5 times bigger than it needs to be, or skin 80% as big as it needs to be? Whatever that means. So it'd have to be shrunk, small. I don't know, that's kind of weird. But anyway, that's this game, and this one's kind of gets crazy too, because like I said, some of those questions are really, I don't know that I'd want any. Some of those, there's one I remember we did that said, would you rather have live spider earrings or a tongue ring with a worm or something? And I'm like, I don't think I want either one of those things, but you have to make a choice and talk it out with your opponents, and that's the way that game goes. But it's a fun party game because everybody's got their own opinions on stuff. And then we're going to do apples to apples, and this one is pretty popular. I think probably most people have heard about it. And in this one, everybody has cards that they collect throughout the game. When it's your turn, you draw a green card, and you have like on a word there, it'll have like exquisite, excellent, refined, or flawless. Okay, so everybody has cards, and they have like 7 to choose from. So I'm going to just take 7 random cards. And then you've got to choose out of these which one would maybe best fit that category of being exquisite. Okay, I have bumper stickers, women's soccer, the 3 tenors, firefighters, the Gulf War, and the Backstreet Boys. That's my 7 cards, or 7 cards that I have. So which one would I think was exquisite? So I think about it and try and figure out which one would I think could be exquisite. Well, maybe I really like tenors, so I would say, okay, I'm going to go and toss my vote for the 3 tenors. And everyone else playing also has cards with different things, and they all decide which one they're going to vote with. And then the one who drew this card, or whose turn it is, takes the votes for the cards from all the other players, and then they decide which one they think fits this the best, or if they're all really crazy, which one might be. I mean, you can choose the craziest one too. You don't, it's all that they're the judge. They decide which one they want to pick. And this one's a fun game. Anybody can play it. I know my granddaughter, she loves this game, and anybody who can read a little bit or understand a little bit about words and things can play this game. And it's a good game, and whoever collects the first one to collect 7 cards, because they get the card if they get the correct, if you pick their choice of explanation of what exquisite is, then you get the green card, and whoever gets 7 of them, I think. Well, it depends on how many are playing. Sometimes it's 5 if you get a bunch, or if it's more if it's just a few of you playing. But anyway, that's one we always enjoy. We have a good time. Some of those have pictures on them. Some of them are just words. And my latest one is Quelf. And this one is a crazy game. It kind of reminds me of Mad. Last week, the last time I did a Mad game. And this one's kind of got some of the same elements in it, because you have to get up and do stuff. All right, so there we go with those. And then again, when it's your turn, you shake the dice, and wherever you end up, your pawn ends up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I got purple, so you go to the card and do whatever it says on the card. This one's a showbiz card. And this card is classified, so you don't let the other players that are in the game know what this card says. You just have to do this for yourself. This one says, sing a verse or 2 from a song that mentions the word love in it. Use your hand to make a face and pretend the voice is coming from your hand. Use your fork and make a mouth or something like that. And so then they're just, I don't know what there isn't anything to it. They don't have to do anything. They just have to watch you, and you have to do this. And if you do it, you have to do it, because if you don't, then you get penalized. You got to move back. So this one's just an act. You act out this thing. And sometimes, you just laugh and you can't hardly do it. And it's classified, so you don't tell them what you're doing. You just get up and do it. So it gets kind of funny. The red ones is scatterbrains. So you choose a topic. So all of us, we all decide on a topic. This one you do mentally. Everybody takes a turn. Okay, things typically found in the car trunk. And I say a thing like a tire. And then they have to keep going until somebody can't come up with an answer. And whoever can't come up with an answer gets a penalty for it. And then the other ones stay where they're at. And then we have the quizzle, which is like a trivia question. What is a 2-headed serpent called? And whoever's answer that one gets, if they can't answer it, they have a penalty. A lot of penalties. If you don't do the things on the cards, you get a penalty. And this one's kind of a riot too. Then you have rules cards. And this action rule affects only the player who drew it. So if you drew the card, this is what you've got to deal with it. If you draw or receive this action card and say, okay, Ringo, it's drumming time. Go find any 2 household items. These are now your drumsticks. You must play the air drums during the turn of the opponent to your right. And you have to do it throughout until you get another rules card to take that place. So every time the person on your right's turn is, you got to sit there and play the drums while they're doing it. And if you don't, you get a penalty and you have to move backwards. And they have, for the whole table too, there's some that's affects everyone. Here's a global rule. This global rule affects all your players. While it's not their turn, every player must use sign language as they talk. If players don't know sign language, they can fake it and make up. So throughout the time, this rule play is in card, and it's in play through the whole game until another global rule card is pulled. You have to make sign language while other players are doing their game. And if you don't do it, you get a penalty, and it's 2 spaces. You have to back up. So this one gets pretty crazy and wild, and you're up and doing stuff. And they also have a timer. Some things you have to write down, and you're timed on it. Sometimes you have to do an action, and you're timed on it. But it's a fun one. If you like a lot of laughing and a lot of goofiness, this is a good one for you. Okay, and this is the old, I know you guys have seen this in the store. There's lots of versions of it. This is the original catchphrase. That's a fun one. You pass it around like hot potato. You start the timer. You've got categories you can use. There's the history buff, entertainment, sports and games, geography, transportation, around the house, food and drink, plants and animals, family, and everything. And then what you do is you push the timer. Yeah, that's what you get to listen to. And a word pops up. And while that word is on there, you have to try and describe it without saying the word. This is a great big gun that shoots out great big blow up things, and people are trying to guess what it is, because until they guess it, you got to sit there and keep trying to describe it. And this one happens to be the bazooka of all things. The state where the horses run. Bluegrass state. If anybody gets that, then you pass it on, and the next person has to take the next word until the buzzer goes. And whoever's and you do this in teams, so it's not just, oh, let me turn that off. It's not just you doing it by yourself. You choose team, you play in teams of 2 or 3, or no, 2 I guess is all you can do on this one. But it can be as many people as you have. And you divide them up, and then while you're trying to guess, or when you're using the word, your team is trying to guess it, because if you can, then you pass it on, and the next person, and you try to sit one every other person so that the every other person is on the other team. And then if whoever's caught holding the game is the one that loses a point. They don't get the point. The other team gets a point if you're caught holding it when the buzzer stops. And this is a fun one. I mean, it's kind of like charades. You got to go through, you get to talk, but you can't use any of the word that's on these things, and that timer gets really irritating when you're trying to think of something to say. So, but that's a fun one. It's a fun one. A lot of people have a lot of fun with that, and that's about all I have for today. I'm going to probably go into just some odds and ends next time around. I've got a few just kind of different games that aren't really in a category of any kind. They're just odd and end type games, unique ones, and that's probably what I'll be doing next. All right, that's me. Goodbye.